Agroecology. As I was saying, this is the second of our series, which are being held on a fortnightly basis. And today we have for you a very, very exciting lineup to speak about a very important topic flowing directly from our first webinar series, which was addressing soil fertility. And we touched on the use of biofertilizers and the various methods to make them and apply them. And so emanating directly from this, we're going to be keeping on going with the cycle, the natural crop cycle, by looking at crop health management. In order to do so, we've got 4 guest speakers invited. But prior to giving them the floor, I would just like sister organizations, AFSA and Sky, which have put this webinar series together, to please briefly introduce their organizations. Starting with you, Charles, please. Charles, if you wish to unmute.
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Shasha. My name is Charles Tumuhe. I work for the Alliance for Food Security in Africa. The Alliance for Food Security in Africa, launched in 2011, is an alliance of African civil society actors advocating for food sovereignty and agroecology in Africa, comprising of 40 members across 50 of the 55 African countries. AFSA promotes African-led solutions, merging traditional knowledge with natural resource control. AFSA champions agroecology for climate action, farmer-managed seed systems, land rights, healthy soils, and sustainable food and nutrition systems. You can get more information about AFSA through our website, and it's very well displayed there on the screen, and I will at this point post it in the chat box. Thank you very much, Asha.
Thank you so much. This was Charles Tumuhe from AFSA, and moving on, I would like to ask Stéphanie Aubin, please, to go ahead with introducing the Seed and Knowledge Initiative.
Thanks very much, Sasha, and good morning, everyone. So the Seed and Knowledge Initiative, SKY, is a regional partnership in Southern Africa, made of 15 diverse organizations, NGOs, CBOs, farmers organizations, research institutions, and also national networks. And they all came together in 2014 to promote farmer-led systems, but in the context of agroecology and food sovereignty. So we work both at the grassroots level with the farmers and at the national, regional, and global levels, doing some advocacy there. And since 2020, we'd had the pleasure to collaborate with AFSA to design and implement this Healthy Soil, Healthy Food initiative together. There are 6 SKY partners who are hosting Healthy Soil, Healthy Food Center. 1 in Malawi, in Zambia, 3 in Zimbabwe, and 1 in South Africa. So these partners are leading the Healthy Soil, Healthy Food movement in Southern Africa and in the SKY partnership. And the regional team, which I'm part of, is providing the coordination support. So similarly, if you want to know more about SKY and
I'll stop screen share now, just to give a warm welcome to all our speakers and obviously to the people participating in the webinar series. If you are joining us only now, please drop a few words of introductions about yourself, not in the chat box ideally, but on the link that I have provided, the Kobo toolbox, which I'm just resharing now in the chat box. Yeah, so briefly, so the theme of today, this webinar delves into agroecological crop health management that are emphasizing issues like natural pest control, ecological principles for weed management, non-toxic solutions, and the role of botanical in microbial protectors. We will be covering this topic in a broad way, but we will also be getting quite technical with the experts that we have lined up, because they have a wealth of knowledge to share with us. So I'll be asking my speakers to please keep their cameras on as I briefly introduce them in the order in which they will be speaking this morning. So first, we will have a presentation by Robert Guluba on how do pests become pests. I think a nice way of entering the topic there. And then we have John Nzira, who will be telling us about the foundational principles for ecological crop protection. Following from John's presentation, we have Claude Arsène, who will be telling us about processes to go through to make and apply bioprotectors with a focus on how to make some of these yourself as a farmer. And we will be rounding this off with the input from Sylvia Curia, who will be sharing her on-farm knowledge and experience in terms of employing and managing pests and disease agroecological solutions. So what we'll do is we'll be receiving the input from each of the speakers, and we will be inviting you during proceedings to post your questions in the Q&A box, which is at the bottom of the screen. You see Q&A. Please drop your question there, and ideally address the question to one of the speakers directly, or to all speakers if it's a generic question, but you're welcome to designate the person whom you would like to receive input from. And time allowing, at the end of the session, we will have an open Q&A unpacking in more depth the ground that has been covered. So with no further ado, I would like to invite you, Robert, to be ready and to put up your presentation, if you're happy to run it for us while I introduce you. So Robert is a seasoned agroecology specialist with a decade of hands-on experience. He is a working farmer who practices ecological organic agriculture himself. He's currently serving as a program officer for agroecology and sustainable natural resource management with PELM in Uganda, and actively contributes to the establishment of agroecology centers of excellence throughout the country. Robert is also a master trainer for the Knowledge Center for Organic Agriculture in Africa, also known as KCOA, and a regional trainer for the EOAI Ecological Organic Agriculture Leadership course in East Africa. So Robert, thank you so much for joining us today. If you're happy to keep your video on throughout your presentation, that's great. And you have 10 minutes. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Sasha. Hello, everyone. Good morning, bonjour. I will speak some little French. I've been introduced, and I won't take much more time again introducing myself. And I'll go straight away to the presentation, and we shall start with a simple video.
I am life. I am home to millions, and I sustain millions more. My abundance brings prosperity, while my scarcity can be deadly. While my scarcity can be deadly, I cover much of the earth, and my influence extends far beyond. I have been around for longer than you can imagine, but my world is threatened. People need to take notice and do more to secure my future, because I am worth protecting. Your health relies on my health. Your life relies on mine. I am plants. I am life.
Okay, as we see the video, we need to recognize that plant health is really important to us as humans. When plants are healthy, we are sure that we are also healthy. So healthy plants have the power to help end hunger, reduce poverty, protect the environment, and boost economic development. However, even though plants make up 80% of the food we eat and provide over 98% of the oxygen we breathe, there are so many threats to their survival. And that's the reason as to why we are here today to talk about plant health. And up to 40% of the food crops are lost due to plant pests, weeds, and diseases. And remember that these crops provide food security and agriculture, and this is the main source of income for the vulnerable rural communities. So when we talk about crop health management, what do we mean by this? So we are saying that this is a science. It is a practice of understanding and developing innovative methods. These methods are used to manage pests, weeds, and diseases that damage crops, as we are looking at food security, nutrition, and also livelihoods for our farmers. So I begin by defining a pest. In the layman's language, a pest is any living thing. And this living thing has negative effect on humans. And in most cases, when we talk about pests, most people think it's only the insects, but any living thing that causes annoyance to humans is regarded as a pest. And we are saying that it can be a plant, that means the weed is a pest. It can be a fungi, it can be a nematode, it can be microbe, such as bacteria or virus. It can be an insect, a spider, a bird, a fish, animal, rodent, monkey, and even humans. If anybody causes annoyance to you, we shall regard that person as a pest. And from this, labeling an organism as a pest is a very subjective concept and varies from one person to the other's person point of view. So when we come to disease, a disease comes from two words, dis and ease. When you're at ease, you're well. When you're at dis-ease, you're diseased. So we are saying that a disease is anything that impairs the normal physiological functioning of a living organism. So anything that will make you not function well, it will be a disease. And these ones are categorized into four. We have fungal diseases, we have bacterial diseases, we have viral, and some others are nutrient disorders. For example, in this picture, this is a bacterial disease, and most of us know that this is a tomato bacterial wilt. And as my other speakers will be talking about this, they'll be sharing examples as we move along. So when we talk about disease, there are three major factors that will allow a disease to happen. One of the factors is a pathogen. A pathogen can be a fungus, can be a virus, can be a bacteria. Then the other factor is a host, and this host must be susceptible to this disease. Then the other factor is the environment, the conditions that allow the disease to happen. I will give an example. For fungal diseases, the conditions that are humid, normally humid and high temperatures will encourage the growth of fungi and the diseases will occur. So if any of the factors is not present, the disease won't happen. So for a disease to occur, these three factors must be present: the pathogen, a host that is susceptible, and environment that is conducive for the disease to happen.
Robert, excuse me,
Also,
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I'm going to ask you to pause, sorry, because I'm being made aware that we have an issue with the interpretation, and we don't want your great input to be lost on the francophones. Can we have a check with Fatuma, Charles, in terms of why there's no interpretation happening?
Okay. So there's no any interpretation happening at all, or it's the quality?
No, I went to the French booth and I can't hear anything either.
And if you look at the list of participants, there is no one assigned to interpretation. It should be written in the list of participants. You know, as I'm checking the microphone, I should make sure that I don't mute the interpreter. But then there is no indication there is an interpreter.
Can we have Fatuma? Fatuma, are you able to speak so we get to hear from you directly? Were you able to join as interpreter, because I did assign you?
Okay, here she is. Yeah.
Ok, should we redo a check, Fatuma? Vous voulez juste poursuivre, parler dans le booth je vais aller dans le booth pour écouter si vous pouvez parler en français.
Fatuma, can you speak, please?
Okay, we are terribly sorry for this issue. I think, Charles, can we ask you to sort it out offline with Fatuma? And what we'll do is we'll pursue the discussion, and I will just be dropping in the chat box the gist of what is being said, so that you not disrupt things and so that people don't lose the benefit of it. Okay, but please sort it out offline.
Okay, let me manage that.
Oui, maintenant on peut vous entendre. Est-ce que vous êtes... Oui, on vous entend. Okay, it seems sorted. I can hear you in the French booth. So let's keep going with and I can see the language is assigned. Okay, so Fatuma, let's keep going. We're not sure what happened, but at least you're back, so that's great. Sorry to break your flow, Robert. I will give you that extra time to finish your presentation.
Thank you so much.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. It's good that the technical issues are solved. So when we talk about pests, I said that weeds are also regarded as pests. And from our primary science, we say that a weed is an unwanted plant growing in a place that is not wanted. So I'm not going to the weed management strategies and methods right now, but I want to focus on this weed here because it's a major problem in Uganda, especially in the eastern region and as well as western Kenya. This weed is called striga and is parasitic to cereal crops. So where you grow maize, sorghum, rice, millet, this weed is common. And this weed, since it's parasitic, it can cause almost 100% loss in a garden. And this weed normally happens where the soil fertility is really, really bad. And the reason as well, we are now having healthy soils, healthy foods. So if you improve your soil fertility, this weed won't be a much problem. And this weed the seed of striga can be dominant for over 10 to 15 years in the ground, not until the host plant comes. And in Uganda, we are trying to manage this weed through the push-pull technology. And I'm sure even in Kenya, ECP has done a lot of great work on this. So under the push and pull technology, we use the silver or green leaf desmodium, and it is intercropped with the cereal crops. And this green and silver leaf desmodium has the potential to release chemicals that suppress the germination and growth of the striga weed. So I'll talk briefly about it like that, but also in some other ways, we normally use fake host plants, especially the legumes. For these ones, they will stimulate the germination of the striga weed, and once it germinates, it won't find a host plant, and thus it will die. However, there are so many other control mechanisms, for example, managing it before it brings the flowers, so you keep producing the seed in the ground, not until it is all wiped out. But the very first one and most important one is making sure that your soils are really healthy, they are fertile with lots of nitrogen, and the weed will be managed. We need also to understand, why do we get concerned with the pests? When we talk about these pests, they are going to reduce the availability, that is quantity, they will reduce the quality, they will reduce the value of human resources. And we are talking about food, feed, water, and space. And also these pests injure humans, animals, crops, structures, and possessions. If you look at this picture, this is a sassafly, and it can really cause a lot of injury to humans. Then the pests also spread or cause diseases. There are some of them are vectors, like the picture below. This is a mosquito. So when it brings malaria to a human, all activities are interfered. Yes. Then also, the pests interfere with human activities by causing annoyance, discomfort, or inconvenience. An example would be a cockroach in a house. When a woman finds a cockroach in the house, it is just annoyance, it is not causing harm, but that annoyance and discomfort makes it qualify to be a pest. So before we go into the methods of managing pests,
you have 2 minutes left, George?
All right. Okay. Thanks. What brings the pests? One is monoculture. Planting a single crop for over a long period of time encourages a large population of pests to breed. As we all know, when there is availability of food, reproduction increases and the pest will increase. Then we have the pest resurgence, whereby when we use a lot of chemicals, we kill the predators, and therefore the ecosystem will not be balanced. Some pests will come, and as a result, they will cause a lot of damage to our crops. Then we have the insect mutations, whereby the use of the chemicals leads to mutations in the genetics of these pests, and they become tolerant or resistant to the pests that once you apply the chemicals, they don't die. Then the other cause is the attitude. I put this photo of the caterpillar, other people eat them, others see them as pests. So somebody's attitude will make an organism a pest. And therefore, attitudes will make other pests, other organisms pests, and others not pests. Then the change in weather patterns, especially in this era of climate change, you find that pests are coming up. An example, in Uganda, in the western region, we never used to have malaria because it was too cold and mosquitoes never used to survive. But because of climate change, mosquitoes are now breeding. Then the search for better cultivars has also led to pests. This picture is not a weed. Somebody found it somewhere and it was looking good and thought it was ornamental and brought it here in Uganda, and it's now a very huge weed. So I'll rush into the ecological methods for managing pests. And the very first one, we look at the culture control methods. When we talk about culture, we are talking about way of life. And these are the broad set of management techniques that we use to alter the production system. So you're looking at the habitat and the growing conditions. And to give examples, things to do with the crop rotation, intercropping, timing of planting, rodging, weeding, all those are under culture. But also, before we begin managing the pests, we wanted to also look at what level you say, I need now to take action. So this curve normally talks about the economic injury level and the economic threshold. When you look at the blue line, at that point, the cost, the damage that the pest will cause is, okay, the benefit is more greater if you manage the pest than the cost. But below the green line, if you manage the cost, it will be higher than the benefit. So we are looking at the green line as the point at which management, action, and decision has to be taken. When we look at the physical methods, these are techniques used to get rid of the pest by killing them, removing or setting up barriers that will prevent further destruction of the crop. And here we can do hand picking, rat guards, mulching, and weed breakers. I have put a photo of a maize crib, and we have rat guards here that will prevent the rats from moving up. Then we are looking at biological methods, and here we are saying that the use of living organisms to suppress pest populations is where we look at having a balanced ecosystem whereby the natural enemies are going to control the populations of the pests, and by doing so, we shall have a balance. We shall not have the pest population going up to the economic injury level. Thank you so much. I hope I've used the 2 minutes you've added me.
Yes, you made good use of them, and thank you very much for rounding off your presentation so well there. So thumbs up on this, and thank you for bringing in these important notions of the economic injury level and those very vivid animations that tell us 1,000 words about, an image saying 1,000 words about the pest at hand. So thank you for this. If you've got any specific questions that you want to address to our first presenter, Robert, please drop it in the Q&A box, and we will direct Robert to these questions. He can start responding to them in the writing. Moving on to our next speaker, Mr. John Nzira. I think Afsa, will be sharing the presentation for you, or is it John? Are you sharing your screen? Great. So just go back at the beginning of your PowerPoint there to get ready for screen sharing. You just need to go on your landing slides, and I'll be introducing you. So moving from the theory to the practice, we will now hear from John. He will be sharing some powerful concepts about holistic land management as a foundation of crop health. So John is a Zimbabwean environmental conservationist. John is based in South Africa and is renowned for his extensive knowledge in permaculture, ecological agriculture, and environmental science. John has acquired his knowledge in Zimbabwe, the States, and in Israel. As the pioneer of Ukuvuna, an esteemed NGO situated in South Africa, John has led numerous community-based agricultural and environmental conservation projects across the entire SADC region. Under his stewardship, Ukuvuna has fostered partnerships with organizations such as the Seed and Knowledge Initiative to support small-scale farmers in Southern Africa. His efforts have brought him and Ukuvuna international acclaim, including one international and numerous national and provincial awards in South Africa for excellence in biodiversity management and climate change leadership. This is an abbreviated biography that I'm reading out. John has received many other accolades and has done a lot. So John, please go ahead with sharing your PowerPoint. We will be giving you 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Sasha, and greetings to all. My presentation is just straightforward on the practical work that we can do to manage pest and disease management. As Sasha said, I'm in partner with SKI, and we have been working together for quite a long time. So what I'm going to present is good examples in South Africa, Zimbabwe, Malawi, and within these good examples is the farmers' work, and also part of my work training them and making sure that they are understanding the principles of pest and disease management. So I'll start with principles like what are the foundation of pest and disease management. The most important thing is to, as principle one, is to make sure that nature's order is maintained. So by nature's order is maintained, we are part of the ecosystem, part of the nature. Insects are part of nature, pests are part of nature, diseases are part of nature, and as long we push them out in a radical way, then we have problems. So this is how the industrial agriculture approach the land. They push them in a radical way, and that's why we have problems that are not solved on pest and disease management. So the most important thing is to make a balance with predators and pests together in an ecosystem. Like you can see the picture below, it's the farmers in Soweto who have been practicing growing food in a polyculture system and allowing pests to stay, allowing also predators to come, and allowing other insects to come into the system. And hence they are able to produce the abundance of crops that they require for the family and for the markets. It is important to regain control of our farming, and especially by promoting polyculture systems and build plant diversity to regain control of pests and diseases within a farm. So basically what we are looking at is, for example, you see the picture on my right, it is my farm, apple farm, but within it there is a plant called the yarrow, which attracts wasps, and the bees attract number of insects. And the wasps will be able to collect the insects that are going on an apple. Hence, the apples, they are surviving and they are getting us quality apples because of the promotion of polyculture, diversity in a given piece of land. So nature is a friend, not an enemy. Try to work with it. As we work on nature on our farms, restore a balance. The aim of natural control is to restore a balance between pests and predators and to keep pests and diseases down to an acceptable level. So as you see on the picture to my right, it's my son in the garden. It's the diversity. You won't see soil. It's covered. There are different types of plants that are there. By doing that, you are balancing the ecosystem. As you see on the bottom corner of the photo, there is a plant called the wild garlic, which is very good plant for repelling pests in the garden. But it doesn't repel all the pests. It repels some, and some they still come in the garden. But when they come in the garden, because there is a natural system that is promoted, then they are controlled by other predators that are in the garden, like wasps and like leadbeds that are in the garden. And because we are not using any synthetic sprays, the production system, the aim is not to eradicate them altogether, as they are also have a role to play in the natural system. I mean the pests. So fighting with nature is foolish. Cooperating is a plain common sense. Observe and use techniques. Once a pest and a disease has started to attack a crop, the damage cannot be repaired and control becomes increasingly difficult. Where possible, use techniques to avoid pest and disease attack in the first place. For example, the picture on the right, it's the SFSC in Malawi, where I was facilitating to set up a demonstration or a farm, a hub, a center of excellence in Malawi, Muzuzu area, Ekwendini. So in the process of establishing this, there is a process of encouraging farmers to assess and identify pests in their own farms.
Quels sont les insectes dans leur ferme et si ces insectes-là détruisent les plantes. Et voir comment est-ce que ces insectes peuvent être contrôlés, faire une recherche.
Into the system. Observe nature closely. Therein lie the answers. So there are steps that I encourage people to implement by establishing the natural order. The natural order I mentioned earlier is the principles, but there are steps that we can put in place. Knowing the problem, knowledge is power. Knowing a pest, the right pest disease, it is very important. So you can take a scientific approach to identify what pest is it, anatomy of that pest, what disease is it? Is it a fungus? Is it a virus? Is it a bacteria? And when you identify that, you are able to understand, is it the pest or disease that is causing the problem here? Or is it the deficiency of minerals in the garden that are causing the problem here? And by so doing, you are able to make sure that production is properly developed and achieved. Like you see a photo to my right, it's a farmer whom we work with in Zimbabwe, who are actually understanding the importance of building nutrients in the soil by crop rotation, intercropping different species, nitrogen species, fixed legumes that fix nitrogen in the soil. Analyze how much soil disturbance on your farm soils care, insects, fungi, virus, bacteria, and other soil life.
Thanks, John. 3 minutes left, John. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Soil health. It is important to consider that soil management use organic methods is very important. You need to make sure that care for the soil is taken in place, mulching the blanket of the soil is there, dig less and mulch often, compost and biofertilizer is applied, practice crop rotation. And it is important to make sure that the right choice of crop is done by interplanting the species together. Like here on our right, we have cowpeas planted with maize, and cowpeas is a very good plant that repel pests in the garden. So by giving plants the right growing condition, they will be more able to resist pests and diseases. Provide natural habits for the predators. Like on my right, it's my farm in Zimbabwe. You find that the providing the predators in the farm, it will help a lot to provide a space for them to control pests in the garden. So it is important to have make sure that you encourage predators and into the farms by creating insect hotel, plant flowers and plant that attract insects in the farm, both pest and disease and predators. It is important to introduce resistant crop varieties, like the seed you use. It should be the seeds that are coming from within our community, ancestral seeds that are known, that are not hybrid, that are not GMO. And this will help to create a balance between the seed that is resistant and the way you grow them. And then it is important to have some practice of making sure that you have remedies to replace agrochemicals and making sure that IPM is integrated, that's integrated pest management, and other techniques that can help to control pests even in the soil. The microbes in the soil are promoted to make sure that the pests are pushed out of the system. And lastly, make sure that supportive strategies are in place. Good hygiene in the garden, resistance variety crops are there, timing when to plant species that are good for the area, and also predators, and again, create a proper natural order, polyculture, always in the farming system. And it is important to read other books to check whatever ideas that are good that we can apply in wherever we do farming. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John, and thank you for sharing these references. We will be screen sharing them again later. And the PowerPoints are available on the drive that I have shared. I see some participants are saying they are not necessarily managing to access them. So maybe, Charles, we can just check as accessing rights to make sure people get access to the PowerPoints. John, thank you for a wonderful presentation. Very inspiring and very vivid, obviously, you know, from you extracting photos straight from your farm and the various sites where you've been working. Some very compelling imagery and tremendous soil cover. It's just amazing to see how there's not 1 inch of soil left there in all those photos. So thank you for this. Please direct questions to John in the Q&A. I see there are some in the chat box for your attention, John. The questions are in French, asking specifically about some issues. I shall be translating them in English for you. I'll drop it in the Q&A. Thank you very much for this. And now I'm going to be moving to our third presenter, Claude Arsène Savadogo. So Claude Arsène, vous voulez que je partage votre présentation pour vous ou vous voulez le faire vous-même?
Do you want to share your presentation or do you want me to do it for you? Mr. Claude Arsène.
Claude Arsène.
Oui.
C'est bon? Vous voulez que je fasse la partage d'écran pour vous?
Do you want me to share for you or will you do it yourself?
Okay,
I can do it myself.
Je vous présente pendant que vous préparez.
I will say who you are.
Claude Arsène Savadogo will be taking us through a deeper dive into the organic pests and disease management products that are available on the market, to understand how these products are made and how they can be used. Let me tell you a little bit more about Claude Arsène. He's an expert in agroecology and organic agriculture. His work includes research and development in agroecological and organic farming practices, and is also involved in fostering the production and marketing of organic inputs. He is the founding member and managing director of GIE Bioprotect, B, a company that was started in 2011, and the founder and CEO of Bioprotect SA. So we have with us, obviously, a professional in the manufacturing of these bioprotectors. He's also working as an expert for COLE-ACP, the Committee of Liaison between Africa, the Caribbean, and the Pacific, a committee which provides technical advice and mentoring to farmers in the horticultural fields. Arsène has authored several manuals and guides on agroecology and farm biodiversity management. So Claude Arsène, thank you for being with us today. On s'en remet à vous, Claude Arsène, si vous pouvez faire votre présentation.
If you can start your presentation. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm very glad to be with you today, and I will talk about production, usage, conservation of the bioprotector. So this fits really with what we are talking about today. If you can put it in full screen, at the bottom on your right hand side. Okay, thank you. Before I carry on, what is biologic entrant? It's an organism, as the one who spoke before me said. We have chemical entrant. My apologies, the quality of the sound coming in French is not that good, so I'll try as much as possible to summarize. The source of these biochemicals usually are from the rocks or the soil, but what is a biologic one? The reference that we use today, the how do we perceive, how does the agricultural world perceive this interest? A lot of farmers do not really understand this logic. Usually they see the pest. If the pest is not dead, they want everything to kill the pest. They want to, at the maximum, to eliminate the pest. So they are using much more toxic nutrients so that they can get rid of the pest. So there's a lot of consequences when you use toxic chemicals that will bring even poison to the harvest. So we are proposing and suggesting something that is much more environment friendly and which can be used on the long run. And how can we have bioprotectors that are efficient? What are the ways of using it? Do we have a product that we treat? Or do we want to stimulate protection within the structure of the plant? Or should we have something that will work on the environment? Nature gave us everything, and everything that we need is found in nature. Sickness and even the cure is in the nature. So if we can look into the nature, we can choose something that works. We have natural antibiotics that are there. We have, let's say, citronella. That is very good protector that can be used so that we can fight against sickness. The living being that they have, and there are also minerals that are found, like ashes that can be used to protect the plants. You have to know also.
Excusez-moi, Claire, je vous interromps.
The quality of your sound.
From you, because the sound is very good. I listened to you. I think it's from the interpreter. The speaker's this is very clear. It's very clear. I think maybe you could take away gadgets that are close to you or something. The sound from the speaker, listening to both of you from where I am, and the sound from the speaker is very, very clear. Actually, it's your sound that is not clear.
I agree, Marianne. Thanks for that input. It confirms my impression.
Okay.
So,
Donc, je peux continuer?
mais en fait, on va juste voir avec Fatouma. Du coup, est-ce que vous pouvez vous mettre dans un meilleur endroit?
Okay.
Okay. Au niveau de l'interprétariat? So I'm just asking for the interpreter to see if she can resolve her I don't know, the room where she is or the mic. It's just, je suis désolée hein, de casser votre flow là, just to make sure we have a better sound quality coming out of her. Vous nous entendez, Fatouma? Si vous pouvez essayer de voir si vous pouvez améliorer le micro de votre côté. Je ne m'entends pas en fait, si elle me répond ou pas. Vous nous entendez? Ah, c'est bien mieux.
Oui,
Ok.
oui,
Voilà, il y avait beaucoup d'interférences au niveau de votre son. Donc, si vous pouvez juste vous assurer que votre micro ne bouge pas et que vous avez une bonne insonorisation autour de vous. Parce que le... Oui, là, c'est mieux. Oui, c'est mieux. Ok, on continue. Ok, excusez-nous, hein, comme ça, encore une fois, on ne veut pas perdre tous vos propos en anglais. Merci, allez-y.
We do not want to lose.
Je disais en fonction de l'objectif recherché, vous allez récolter l'organe. Mais quelle est la période idéale pour récolter l'organe que vous recherchez? Voilà. Si les organes que vous recherchez sont les fruits, pour pouvoir extraire vraiment le plein de matière active, il vaut mieux le récolter en plein soleil. Là, vous avez des arômes qui sont beaucoup plus concentrés. Si l'organe recherché sont les feuilles, il faut plutôt récolter tôt le matin pour qu'il puisse conserver la qualité au fait des arômes que vous recherchez. Si par contre les organes recherchés sont des boules ou bien des racines, le mieux c'est de les récolter en milieu de journée. Donc la période de récolte va in fine influencer sur la qualité finale du bioprotecteur que vous allez fabriquer.
Very important about
D'extraction des principes actifs. Il y a plusieurs méthodes d'extraction. On peut le faire avec froid. Et qui est la méthode la plus utilisée par les agriculteurs. À l'eau froide ne permet pas d'extraire le maximum de principes actifs. Il y a beaucoup de principes actifs qui vont rester et qui ne seront pas extraits. On peut extraire la même chose. Ça, c'est également beaucoup plus intime, moins un par rapport à l'extraction à l'eau froide. On peut utiliser des solvants, l'éthanol, pour extraire. Là, on augmente encore
or even any factors that are using to extract the active, the principal, let's say, and have and use it and take it as much concentrated as possible because you use, let's say, oil. How to extract oil?
Excuse me. Hello. Yes, we are changing the interpreter now. Sorry. Yes, so we need to get Ludo on. So let's take just a second to do that. Sorry.
Arsène, on va changer d'interprète et c'est un soulagement parce que j'entendais que la qualité du son était vraiment pas bonne dans l'interprétariat, donc on en change. Vous nous donnez 2 secondes. Ce qui me navre un peu, c'est que je ne sais pas si vraiment le contenu de votre présentation a été entendu depuis le début, en fait.
So, Ludo, kindly confirm if you have the interpretation rights now. Yes, Ludo, do you want to confirm? Yes, Ludo is here. He's taking over from Fatuma. We are very sorry for this. We couldn't get Ludo in the first place. He was busy, so he assigned someone to help.
Hello.
Yes, Ludo, can you hear me? Are you able to take over now? Yes, so Ludo is coming on. Sorry, we are very sorry for that. Yes, Ludo is set. So yes, let's go on with Ludo now. I'm very sorry for this. Let's proceed now.
Thank you for the troubleshooting, Charles. Allez-y, Claude Arsène, continuons. Merci beaucoup.
D'accord. OK. Allez, j'espère que c'est bon maintenant.
Moi
Alors,
aussi.
donc, on peut aussi faire un mix de ces méthodes-là. Donc, c'est-à-dire, je peux extraire une partie à l'eau froide, une partie à l'eau chaude, une partie à l'éthanol, et puis je fais un mix de tout ça pour justement avoir un produit qui est le plus large spectre et qui regroupe plusieurs catégories de principes actifs.
Claude Arsène, je suis désolée, je vous interprète encore. On n'entend pas l'interprétariat en anglais. Ludo, can you please go to the booth and just confirm that you are able to translate? I'm going to go to the English booth. If you can just speak there.
Yes, I can hear you now. I don't know. Yeah. Okay.
Ok, Claude Arsène, on y va. Merci de votre patience. On va vous donner plus de temps, ne vous inquiétez pas.
OK. Alors,
Je
donc,
pense
comme je
reprenez
parlais
Claude
tantôt...
Arsène. Attends, je amène the wrong booth. Claude Arsène, excusez-moi. Reprenez, je pense, votre
So
propos.
we're gonna start again from distilling. The extracting mode of active principles can be done with cold water. When you do an extraction with cold water, we will extract 50 to 60% of active principles. With hot water, we can increase the quantity. You can use solvents to extract. Here, you extract a lot more active principles, and you can move to distillation straight away. So you have a concentration of active principles or products, and you can use the seeds of a certain plant. And the neem, in French it's the neem, not sure what it is in English, is a very good plant that protect the crops against pests. I can have different types of formulations with only one active principle, which is a simple formulation. When you have a look at the photo, here you can see women who are making biopesticides. Here you have neem, you have chili, garlic, alcohol. This was done through cold extraction and also with alcohol, extraction with alcohol. When bioprotectors are made, you need to conserve them and you need to protect their quality. It's very important to have something that can wrap them up or in which you can enclose them. You don't want a transparent wrap, so you can use paper wrap. Then there will be it will be more difficult. Well, you will not be able to preserve them for as long as a product that you have made using neem. You need to close it and make sure there is no air penetration. For essential oils, you need to use glass recipients because the plastic container will perish. Interpreter cannot hear. So the solid form is the form that I would advise you to use. You must determine the treatment, and it is important for me to use the treatment or to wait some more. So it is important to determine what you are going to do. The interpreter cannot hear properly. So you need a product that's going to attract the insects. And you'll determine what you are going to use by doing a calculation on the perimeter, the square meters, etc., square meterage. So you do not want to fall in the same trap of that you have if you're using chemical products. You must use X or Y bioprotector, then the next one, and this is how you improve the efficiency. Moringa extracts is very useful, so you can use these different extracts and improve the capacity of the plant's resistance. So you need to apply those treatments at night after irrigation. It is at night that the insects are the most aggressive. During the day, the treatment does not have as much of an impact as if you apply them in the evening. So natural products, those you need to respect the dosage, the amount of product that you're using. So you must stick to the dose, the quantities. The plant multi-extract has impact on larvas, flies, caterpillar. So you need one kilogram of garlic, 1 kilogram of chili, 1 kilo onions, neem powder, 1 kilo of neem powder, 120 grams of soap, 15 liters of water. Then you mix those ingredients that you must first crush, then you mix them and you leave it for between 5 to 24 hours. If you use hot water, then 5 hours is fine. If you're using cold water, it's better to leave it for a day, to settle for a day. And in the application, the gas is important because it is essential for the smell. The insects will be able to smell, and this is what will protect the plants. You can also use the apithy. The interpreter does not know the equivalent in English. You need 10 kg of garlic, 10 kg of chili, 2 kg of black pepper, 15 liters of fertilizer, microorganism-based biofertilizer, 4 liters of alcohol. You give it more, and then you can use it, or you can use 1 liter for 100 liters of water, 1 liter of the product. With neem, you can produce many different products. that can have an impact on more than 400 insects, types of insects. You can use water extraction. You use the neem and the neem seeds with water. You leave it to soak, and then the other type of extraction allows you to extract the oil, and you'll be able to have an impact on mosquito larvae and other pests. So when you are doing an extraction, you need the alcohol extract or extraction with alcohol. The interpreter didn't get that.
Plus concentré que les extraits. D'accord, autant pour moi. J'essaie de courir derrière le temps aussi. Donc, les extraits, ce qu'il faut
So when you extract with alcohol, you have a concentration that is 50 times higher than the other type of extraction. So the gain is massive.
On va vous donner 1 ou 2 minutes pour passer ça en revue et pour conclure, ok?
D'accord, merci.
So you have 2 minutes. You also have fungicides that can be made. You need essential oil extractions, and you can use the Bicosa soup with water, copper, magnesium, zinc, etc. And you can control about 32 diseases using this product. So the product can be used, 30% of that product can be used with 70% of water. So now the trichoderma multiplication, it's a microorganic or microbe that you want to multiply in the soil, and it would stimulate the plant's defense mechanism. It will strengthen the plant's defense mechanism. So when I do bokashi or my compost, I add this trichoderma and it's going to multiply. Then after, eventually, these microbes will colonize the soil. And in the forest, you can collect them. So it's important to have a culture of trichoderma that you can use at the beginning in your soil. First, you need to disinfect the organic matter. I hope I used the time well. I'm sorry about the sound problems and the speed. Thank you. Thank you very much, Claude Arsène. That's a great presentation. We had a lot of activities in the chat, and we will see. We hope that you'll be able to send us your manuals in French and in English.
So thank you for this. I wish to move on to our fourth presenter before we hopefully set aside some time for an open Q&A, and we also have a bit of a poll that we'd like to put to this busy room. We've got 80 participants today. It's a great turnout. So with no further ado, I want to invite our fourth and last speaker, Sylvia, to please be ready to present. If you can switch your camera on. I don't know if your camera is on. It's always nice to see the speaker. Sylvia Korea is a seasoned organic farmer from Kenya with over a decade of experience in the field. Her journey began with a simple kitchen garden aimed at providing safe and nutritious food for a family, a venture that resonated with many other seekings from the same for their households. So this led to Sylvia setting up a business called Sylvia's Basket in 2016. And this venture started delivering fresh vegetables around the neighborhood where she dwells to friends in the city. And basically the intention of the business was to make organic food readily available for all. So there's a graduate of the IFM Organic Leadership course, and she has trained over 1,000 farmers within Kenya and across the African continent. She's currently amplifying her impact by participating in the prestigious African Food Fellowship Food System Leadership Program of the Wageningen University in the Netherlands. So Sylvia, we're very keen on hearing your specific story, bearing in mind that what you are presenting is your journey as a farmer with a specific agroecological ecosystem that you're presenting, because the solutions that you're going to be presenting with vivid imagery are focusing specifically on the semi-arid area of Kenya. So I'm sure people from those similar ecosystem will have lots to learn from you. So please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes, very well.
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much. Welcome everybody, and I'm so happy to be given this opportunity to actually share my experience as a farmer. And you're able to actually see, I'm actually here in my kitchen sharing about what we're doing. So we've mentioned that I'm actually in a semi-arid area in Nakuru County. For those of you who are in Kenya, you might relate. Okay, so there you go. Okay, so basically, you know, the previous presenters have shared very well. And I really have enjoyed my brother Cloud, who has, you know, gone into details, you know, about how to make the biological control. But for me, I'm just going to be able to share, you know, exactly, you know, different practices that have worked very well for me. And in this particular case, you know, for us, we always know that unless you have a healthy plant, you're not really able to have, you know, if you want to have a healthy plant, sorry, you must have healthy soil. And, you know, we've really been working on our soils. In fact, as I was just reflecting on my presentation, I just wanted to share that, you know, when you see the before and after, our soils were highly degraded. You can actually see that it took us about 5 years to actually get to a nice, rich soil, you know, and, you know, you have to really think about how we are able to recycle our biomass, you know, like recycle the nutrition we have, and, you know, being able to use fewer external resources, you know, like making compost, making plant teas, making compost teas, manure teas, you know, consistently to actually be able to have good soil. Because when you have good soil, just like us human beings, when you're healthy, you're actually able to ward off diseases and you're able to ward off, you know, sicknesses. Same thing with the soil. When you have good, rich soils, like when you look at the soil on the left, when the soil was that way and I planted anything, I'd have a lot of spider mites, many pests, bacterial wilt. But after we grew our soil, some of those things have actually escaped us now. And something else that I wanted to bring out, and I don't want to go into details because my brother Cloud has talked about the microorganism, that being able to cover your soil with mulch to actually protect your microorganisms, retain moisture, and reduce the weeds to make sure your plants are strong and healthy. And when I think about it, you know, I think about the different microorganisms that we've learned about how to increase trichoderma. We have bacillus. And you know what happens is when you build your soil, you normally have a lot of beneficial microorganisms. But the way that you want to make sure that you don't lose them is to make sure the soil is covered, not only by mulching, but also being able to incorporate cover crops. Like I remember, I think it was the first or second, no, the second presenter, John, you know, you could see that his soil was fully covered. And that's one way to make sure that you have good soil and you have good, healthy plants. And then something else that has really worked out for us very well is being able to grow seasonal and resilient crops. It took me some time when we started off the farming venture here. We actually just started growing, anything, anything and everything. But with time, we came to learn which crops are seasonal, which crops work very well for us at what particular times. Like now we are going into short rains. We don't know whether it's going to be short rains or El Nino, but then we still have to really consider the crops that do well here. You can see me standing there. That's a kale. It's much more taller than me right there. That's an indigenous kale. But we've actually learned that our local foods are actually resilient. Of course, they taste much better. They're fresher. And also what I've also found that when you grow crops in seasons, they're rarely affected by pests, And what we have done as our brand in Sylvia's Basket, we only sell what is seasonal, because when you work with smallholder farmers, we encourage them, if you want to go organic, grow seasonal. That way the pests and diseases don't affect you as much. For example, trying to grow cabbage or broccoli in the heat of January will not be very successful. But if you grow cabbage when it's cold and wet in July, chances are cabbage is going to do well. So being able to have that kind of habit. And then let me just briefly talk about the timely and proper weeding. And I can just give a quick lesson I really learned with my weeding journey. When we started weeding, we just used to weed mainly in the, like in the garden parts. But we found that if you don't weed around the plot, what happens is the pests normally stay in those weeds. So most times you find that, like you can see the picture of my beans, it's well weeded both in and out of the plot. That's what I wanted us to see. Many times we just weed in between the plants, then we ignore the weeds that are on the edges and on the fence. And we really struggled with a pest known as thrips. And once we learned that all the thrips in the evening would be coming from the weeds, like in the corners and coming directly onto the plot, we learned that we have to weed well. And then also you have to know your crops. You have to know how long do your crops take to grow in the garden. Like for us, for onions, we've learned that we have to weed our onions every 4 weeks. About 3 to 4 times, but mostly 3 times is normally sufficient. And then after that, they're ready for harvesting. You also have to know when you have to weed the different crops like your beans, tomatoes. So you have to inspect your crops. You have to know when is the proper weeding, because what happens is, of course, the weeds normally have a pest and lots of diseases. Companion planting, there's a lot of information online on companion planting. Some of it is not scientific, some of it is helpful, but for me, I actually got to learn, what kind of crops actually work very well when they are actually planted in close proximity with one another. And beyond being able to support with pest control, pollination, and being able to bring about beneficial insects, I also find that, when you talk about the principles of agroecology like diversity, when you actually do companion planting, chances are, of course, you have more crops during that season. And guess what? When you go to the market, you actually have more to sell. And also, if perchance you find that one crop doesn't do very well because of one reason or another, you actually have the other one to sell. So right now, I know we're mainly focusing on pests and diseases, but that's just something I thought I'd throw out there. That as you throw companion planting, also it adds more money into the farmer's pocket, which also works very well. And also, of course, being able to maximize the use of your space. Okay, beneficial insects and organisms. You can see a praying mantis there. I was doing gardening with my children and they found the praying mantis and I was so excited because this is a question I keep asking people. When was the last time you saw a praying mantis? Unfortunately, because of the high use of pesticides and specifically the highly hazardous pesticides, we have compromised on our ecosystems. We've killed so many beneficial insects. We don't even see them anymore. Some people who are, some of my friends in Uganda see them more often because it's nice and wet, and you're able to grow many things. But one thing I've learned, as we talked about companion planting, the more crops you grow, you're actually able to make sure that you also bring in beneficial insects. And I'm excited to say that my farm has got prey mantis, and prey mantis are really nice because they're carnivorous and they eat lots of pests. In fact, if you read about prey mantis, they say they eat day and night. They have very good appetites. And then, of course, being able to build your soils, when you have the nice red wrigglers or the worms, they actually are your tractors. They build the soil, make sure the soil is nice and healthy, well aerated. And of course, we've talked about having healthy soils, of course, will give you healthy plants. So being able to make sure that, you're able to bring about the necessary interactions, of different organisms to self-regulate, the pest outbreaks, But the thing about it is you have to make sure that you're actually growing your crops in a system that is supporting agroecology. And that's the only way that you'll be able to bring in all these beneficial insects and organisms.
Thanks.
Something
You
you'll
have
find.
2 minutes left.
How many? Sorry?
2 minutes left. Thank you.
Sure. So basically, if you come to my garden, you'll find I've planted lots and lots of flowers. And some people normally wonder, aren't you wasting space? But for me, I have learned that when you actually have flowers, you actually bring in first, the garden is very nice and beautiful. You're also able to attract, pollinators to also help, of course, with different flowering crops. But also what happens is the flowers also attract predators. A quick tip for the farmers out there, if you're growing green leafy vegetables that are affected by aphids, grow bands of flowers. They actually attract some wasps that actually feed on the aphids. That has worked very well for me. Anywhere I have my green leafy vegetables, you can see my friend there who was harvesting, you actually have rows of flowers, and that really helps a lot. And then the quick push-pull technology, Robert, I think, mentioned it. I'm going to quickly mention the one for cabbages and to repel to repel diamond back moth. So what happens, you plant rows of cabbage and beans and onions. So what happens is the onions are going to repel the diamond back moth that affects the cabbages. And then what happens is the diamond back moth gets confused and lays its eggs on the beans. Of course, what happens when it lays its eggs on the beans, it's not able to, to germinate, and then you have a clean crop of cabbage working there. So this technology is being done right now by SIPE for vegetables. Push-pull technology supports a lot. Of course, the use of pheromone traps. This trap is able to attract specific insects. Sometimes it attracts only males, sometimes females, or both. But then now for these traps that you can see, one of them has attracted the Tuta absoluta, the one on the left that really affects tomatoes. And the other one has attracted the fall armyworm males. So you're able to reduce pest incidences. It works very well because it's very specific and you're able to get rid of large number of pests in large areas of growth. And then finally, of course, the pesticide bruise. I don't want to talk much about it because my brother Cloud has really emphasized on it. I just put one of my favorite plants, which is the Tithonia. In Kenya, my tribe, we call it maruru because it's very bitter leaves. And this Tithonia makes one of the best pesticide brews because, it works well to repel and deal with pests, but it's also a wonderful foliar. So finally, get in touch whenever you have a chance. That is us outside our Sylvia's Basket shop, whereby we are very passionate and happy to work with smallholder farmers all over Kenya to make this organic produce accessible to as many people as possible. Thank you very much for your time. Asanteni sana.
Asante sana. Thank you so much, Sylvia, for a wonderful presentation. Immersed in your garden, and what joy to be seeing those praying mantises again. I agree. We are running so short for time, and this is very unfortunate because there is a large number of questions that are going on in the Q&A. So I would really like to invite our esteemed speakers to please go to the Q&A box and do your best to respond to as many of those questions as you can. While I take the liberty of inviting some of our colleagues from the HSHF initiative, maybe Ferdinand, if you're there. I don't know if you want to comment and share some insights on what was said. Jean-Charles as well, I think, is there. It's always nice to hear the voices of the people we work with regards to the Healthy Food, Healthy Soils program, or Healthy Soil, Healthy Food program. So any sort of overarching comment, takeaway messages from your perspectives? Ferdinand, Jean-Charles, si vous êtes là, or any other representative? Yes?
Thank you, Sasha. I'm Ferdinand and part of the
planning team of the advanced learning of the healthy soil, healthy food initiatives that's bringing these webinars. And thank you for all the presenters. I'm based in Western Kenya, biogardening innovation, and I'm also an agroecology practitioner. I just want to make a small comment on about push-pull that was raised on the charts about on a weed control, especially the striga weed among people who plant maize, sorghum, and related grains. The push-pull, as somebody asked, is related to push is actually a repellent, and pull is a trap. That the push-pull technology was developed by studies from ICIPE, the International Center for Insect Physiology, and the use of desmodium and napier were used for the push-pull. So desmodium is actually a push when you intercrop with maize or sorghum. It produces some allelopathic chemicals from the soil that actually repel stem borers. But later, it was also discovered that the allelopathic effect also inhibits growth of the witchweed or striga weed, which actually forms is a parasitic weed on gramineaceous crops. And then when you plant borders of napier grass, then the stem borer is attracted to the napier, and then it also gets the other natural enemies like birds and other organisms that can actually eat the caterpillar of the stem borer. So that is what I can say about the push-pull, as was raised in the chat. And thank you so much for the presenters. Thank you.
Thank you, Ferdinand, for that more in-depth explanation about that system. I'm sure people will find that useful. I want to just relay the further insights that are shared by Bridget O'Connor from Zambia, and how we can find lots of resources online about how some flowers kill the very pests that they and their larvae prey on. And I think this speaks to this very nice notion that John was introducing. You know, don't seek to eradicate those pests, because ultimately those pests are also food for your benevolent predators. So it's a whole ecosystem that needs to be fed and kept within balance. We have 3 minutes left before the end of this webinar. I just want to reiterate the fact that we will not leave those technical questions unanswered in the Q&A. Some of them have been answered already. We have the database of all the people who have registered. So we will be chasing up our experts with those very specific issues on the very specific pests that some farmers are confronted with, to make sure you get responses to your questions, and we will be emailing these through. Before we depart, because there's not much time for an open Q&A, we're going to rather go into a poll that will actually help us get an overview of the challenges that we are exposed to as practitioners in Africa in the field. Charles, are you going to be able? Thank you so much. You so proactively do this. This is a poll, and I'm going to also screen share so that the questions are clear for everyone. We have brainstormed as a team what we thought could be the critical challenges that people encounter in using agroecological pest and disease management approaches. What is the issue with perhaps lack of use? And the suggestions that we have pre-identified are as follows: a lack of availability of agroecology-based alternatives. Are these just, pardon me, not available? Could the issue be the lack of government policy supporting agroecological approaches? A third option would be the perceived higher complexity to prepare or use and apply them compared to synthetic ones. A fourth option would be an insufficient body of evidence on efficacy of agroecology-based alternatives. Option 5 is the lack of visibility of the scientific evidence showing the efficacy of agroecology-based alternatives. So this is distinct, and we would really like to have your views. Is there not enough evidence, or is this evidence there and perhaps not sufficiently visible? Option 6, pressure from peers, extension officers, markets, the programs that are rolled out in our various countries and agencies. You know, are they locking people in conventional approaches? And then you might have even another notion as to why, you know, there is a challenge in incrementing the use of these approaches, and you can express it in the chat box. So I hope these options made sense. And we're gonna start seeing the responses appearing. I think everybody's seeing the poll responses show. And interestingly, lack of government policy is fairly on par with the lack of availability. But we have also a significant number of people saying, you know, maybe it is the higher complexity, maybe it's insufficient body of evidence, and maybe it's the lack of visibility of evidence. So the pressure from peers is also getting a fair amount of responses. So this is an interesting poll that can also inform our work on the ground, but we can see that interventions are needed in terms of advocacy and availability. I think we can end the poll on this note, Charles, because before we close, and we can share the results now, there's a second question we would like to ask you, because AFSA and Sky are always keen to orientate their work on an advocacy focus, and we would like to know, in your view, what should be done at a policy level to promote the use of these agroecology, crop pest and disease management approaches. So if you have the view that there's a lack of support from government, what is the distinct intervention, the specific piece of legislation or regulation which you feel would make a difference? And we can increment and amplify messages about this. So this question we'll ask you to respond to in the chat box, and we can just gather the input of people there. Any suggestions on policy interventions?
Yeah, Shasha, we could allow one or two people to ask a question or two. Yeah, because we lost, you remember we lost 5 minutes.
I'm very happy to do that. I'm not sure how things go with people's time in your engagement with the interpreter. If people are happy to stay online, I would love us to have a Q&A. Absolutely.
Yeah, we can do 3-4 minutes because we lost time already switching the
let people at least maybe have like maybe 4 minutes. I'm sure people want to stay too. I mean, they came all the way. Let's just grant them that.
Wonderful. So I think I would like to pull in one question. I would like to address it perhaps to Claude Arsène from the chat box. It's written in French, and Claude Arsène can hopefully respond because this will concern other people. Thank you for presenting, you know, the use of protectors. There was a question about cost, you know, is it not costly? What are your indicative costs for making use of these on a large scale exploitation? Donc Claude Arsène, si vous nous entendez, on aimerait avoir votre retour là-dessus, and other speakers, if you've got any insights on this, we would welcome it.
Je réponds dans le chat ou bien je réponds
Vous pouvez
directement.
répondre verbalement, merci.
Je vous ai pas entendu, hein.
Oui, oui, vous pouvez répondre.
You can reply orally. Bioprotectors are avoidable. The interpreter cannot hear. So bioprotectors that we propose are between 1 to 2,000 CFA francs, plus minus one, just over $1. And you can have 1 liter or use 1 liter per hectare or 5 liters per hectare. So how do we apply them? You mix it with water according to the bioprotector. There is a determined mix. So 1 liter of the product usually is used with 100 liters of water. Thank you.
I'm now going to go to the hand. There's a hand up from Noah Nasiali. Noah, if you want to
Noah,
put your camera on and ask.
would you like to switch on your camera?
Can you hear me? I don't know if was I not in the original audio.
Are you talking, Shasha? Is it my problem? Is anyone else hearing Shasha?
I can't hear her anymore. I can't hear her.
Sasha?
It's so faint.
No, can't hear her.
Sorry,
Also,
can you hear me?
It's
Yes.
better now.
And the chat has disappeared.
So sorry, can people hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
You are now audible.
Okay, thanks for calling that on me. I'm just going to post Claude Arsene's very explicit response in the chat so that people can access it there as well. And I'm going to ask Noah Nasiali, Noah, to please switch your camera on and to ask your question.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. If you want to please switch
Can
on
you
your
hear?
camera.
Hi, how
Go ahead.
are you? Thank you very much for this. Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. For me, I work with quite a number of farmers. And one of the challenges that we've seen is government regulation to allow the agroecological solutions, rather by pesticides, to be able to be used in farms. So most of the time they're produced, but they're used as foliar fertilizer, not pesticides. So my question is, how can we be able to come together? One, to be able to make sure that the government policies are relaxed a bit for that solution, for those solutions to be out there. And then the other challenge that we have that is really huge is the fact that this information is not available to smallholder farmers. Farmers do not know where to get this information, so it's a lot of guesswork. We see a lot of quantities, and I'm really excited to see what Sylvia is doing, and also the presenter just before Sylvia in terms of what are those solutions. We're also in the process of producing our own. It's more of an insect repellent and a foliar fertilizer, but just the guidelines. If we would come together more in a united front, and not just the scientific bit, but also disseminating it to smallholder farmers.
Thank you, Noah, for that comment slash invitation to invite for more on the ground collaboration. I don't know if any of our speakers wants to speak to that, and if there's, you know, ingenious methods that you have identified to promote this peer-based learning with your farmers. Sylvia, did you want to perhaps comment on that? How you go about disseminating the knowledge when you do outreach work with your farmers?
Okay, so you know, I'm a master trainer together with Robert in a program known as Knowledge Center for Organic Agriculture, which has lots of platforms which are also online, as well as being able to bring farmers together to bring together that information. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think relaying of the online resources is also the way of the future, but there's no substitute for face-to-face interactions. I'd like to invite Jeremy Gada. You had your hand up for a while, so please open your mic and your camera and ask your question. Jeremy, yes? Mike, your mic is not connected. No, we can't hear you. Your mic is not connected. Try and sort it out, and I'll just move to Roy Salon. Roy Michelo, hello. So do you want to make a contribution or ask a question?
Vous me recevez?
Oui.
Ah, d'accord. Bonsoir tout le monde. Je suis Jérémy Gada.
Good afternoon. I am Jeremy. I am an agroecological farmer. How can you efficiently manage tomatoes with acarians, nomatome, and termites? And how can you fight those using biological or bio pesticides? Can answer? Maybe others can add. So I forgot the terminology that he used. So it is the softening of tomatoes, pathological softening of tomatoes. So bacterial softening is very difficult to treat. You need to rotate. You need to rotate the crops. It's very hard to fight against that. You can't fight against a problem actually, but if you rotate, it will strengthen the resistance, the plant's resistance. At the end of my presentation, I spoke about how to stimulate natural defense, the plant's natural defense mechanism. On hematode, I don't know the English term. So you soak the roots and then you plant it. And the pest will not be able to lodge near the root. This is a way to protect the plant against this pest. Then you have chili extracts that you can use with neem extracts. That's to answer your second question. For termites, it's the same thing. Termites will develop in the soil, but decomposed organic matter will reduce the proliferation of termites. So if you attract ants, you'll be able to fight against termites. You can also add neem, and neem or neem powder is very efficient against termites, and it will also improve the soil fertility. Neem is very rich in a chemical that biochemical that.
Sorry, we've got to round this up.
We have to run it up. We're going in the subject matter and we have to
will increase soil fertility.
I think, Rod, I'm so sorry you weren't standby there. Do you want to make a final?
Yeah, you need to work on your microphone, Shasha. I can't hear you again.
Okay, I hope the sound is better now.
We can hear Sasha. We can hear Sasha, no problem. I think it's on your side, Charles.
Oh, sorry.
We need to wrap, Royd. Can you make your contribution as the final input? You need to unmute.
Thank you very much, Sasha. Actually, it has been a very good transition. Getting everything, but I want to talk about the biological pest control. I think on this one, we the key players, the people who are on the ground in terms of promoting agroecology, we have to take this very seriously. And in most cases, I can see that on our sides, we have to work in collaboration with the extension officers so that we spread the message effectively. We cannot manage to handle this alone because you see, where we are, there are a lot of farmers, and these farmers, they are under government institutions. Now, like what is happening here, I've taken an opportunity actually to integrate the government officials in terms of extension officer to spread agroecology. They are not refusing. So I think this is the only thing you can do even elsewhere. Let's work in accordance with the requirements of all these officers, because you see, the issue of climate change now is real. These people, they are also willing to be incorporated into this activity because they want to learn more, because this is more sustainable.
Yeah,
so let's try to work with the extension officer so that we spread the message to all the people within the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rod. I really agree with this very tangible way forward. Is, you know, there's a partnership waiting to happen, reaching out to extension officers who are thirsty for new knowledge. And there's definitely some systematic partnership and learning sharing that can be done with them. Thank you for offering this. I think this is a nice way of rounding off this webinar, because we were looking for some policy-orientated solutions. Thank you for all of you to stay on a bit longer to cover some extra technical ground and insights. And we're really sorry again for the
Shasha.
Yes, on the interpretation. Yes,
yes, our chairman for the land working group, which houses the Houses of the Food Initiative, is here. I'm requesting if you'll allow her to close the webinar. It's up to you. You're the facilitator.
I think it will be completely in order with our proceedings to hear Marianne's beautiful voice to close off this meeting. So Marianne, over to you, and we are delighted to have you with us today, by the way.
Thank you so much, everyone. I mean, Sacha, you did a very good job. I was just actually participating and enjoying the presentations. Thanks for everyone that came to share their beautiful innovations, I mean, stories. I mean, there's everything in Africa. We have everything here. I mean, we can solve the problems. Agroecology works. I mean, I was watching the film, I was listening to them. We have natural ways of managing pests. Everything has been given to us in nature. If only our government can support our farmers, and our people too can trust our people. These are scientists in their own rights. I want to thank the interpreters. Without them, I mean, you could see how difficult it was until Lucio came on board. So they have a very key function in helping us understand ourselves. I want to thank my comrade and Charles, who has been the backbone behind these meetings and working behind the scenes. Thanks to all the presenters. Thanks, Sacha, wonderful job of French, English. I don't know how you do it, thinking through both brains and coordinating. I also see the chair of our Citizens Working Group, who also did a similar workshop, was it yesterday, and also had a great turnout, John Wilson. I thank all AFSA members here. I thank all our partners, our allies, our friends. We can do this. We can really do this, and we should keep making a case for agroecology, for doing things organically. We save the environment, we cool the planet. Above all, we have healthy foods. We have, our food is African. We protect the earth for the generation to come. So thank you, everyone. And I hope you will join us again for the subsequent seminars that are coming up. I don't know, Charles, do you have the dates of the next one coming up?
Yes, the next one is coming up in 2 weeks. Shasha will put up the screen before she closes everything up.
So thank you, everyone. We deeply, deeply appreciate you. And we don't take this time that you've shared with us lightly. Thank you. Keep well, keep safe. Speak agroecology.
À la prochaine. Au revoir.
Thank you so much, Marianne, for closing off here. And here's the slides showing the next webinars. It's going to happen on the 10th of November, focusing on seed management technologies. And I think, Charles, you have also invited people to pursue this discussion on the WhatsApp group that was posted in the chat. So I think people must please take note of that and click on the group before leaving and before we close, because then this discussion can continue. Thank you very much all, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thank you, Sasha.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Chair, for being here for this long. We appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. I'm gonna close this now. Yeah.